The explorers had seen more than any species had ever seen before. Humanity, once fragile and limited, had become something entirely new. The post-human entities flowed through their city like rivers of intelligence, aware of the aliens' presence, but neither hostile nor threatening. Captain Sylar knew the time had come to make a decision. "We have witnessed their evolution," he said quietly to the team. "We know what they are capable of. They are not merely advanced, they are beyond us. Any interference could be catastrophic." Ritha nodded. "We came to study them. But now, it is clear that observation alone is the safest choice. They are powerful in ways we cannot measure." The team moved carefully toward the central nexus, the heart of the planetary network. Energy flowed in intricate patterns, connecting every structure, device, and living being across the city. The post-human entities pulsed with intelligence, observing the explorers, projecting thoughts and emotions directly into their minds. It was overwhelming yet inspiring. "They are communicating," Mylan whispered. "Not in words, but in thought. They want us to understand them." The central nexus projected images into the explorers' minds, humans working together, sharing intelligence, preserving knowledge, and creating a world that could survive any catastrophe. They had transformed themselves into a collective consciousness, existing across the planet as a network of life, thought, and energy. "They are not trying to dominate," Retha said. "They only wish to continue to exist in harmony with their planet. They do not seek to harm others unnecessarily. Their power is controlled by their purpose." Captain Sylar studied the images, feeling the weight of the truth. Humans had faced extinction, yes, but they had chosen to evolve in a way that preserved life, intelligence, and memory. They had created a species that could adapt, survive, thrive, without losing their core essence. "They are teachers," Sylar said quietly. "Their story is a lesson in resilience, ingenuity, and the power of intelligence. And we are learning from them, whether we wanted to or not." One of the post-human entities approached more closely, its energy pulsing in sync with the explorer's thoughts. It projected an image of humans leaving behind messages, instructions, and guidance for any species that might discover their legacy. The humans had anticipated contact, had prepared for observation, and had ensured their knowledge would endure. "They planned for us," Mylan said. "They left a message. Not just for their own kind, but for any intelligent beings who might arrive." The Nexus showed humans' final transformation. Physical forms were optional. Consciousness, memory, and intelligence could exist across machines, structures, and organic systems. Humans had transcended the limits of biology, becoming a planet-wide intelligence that could adapt, defend, and flourish indefinitely. "They are eternal," Ritha said softly. "Not in a physical sense, but in presence, thought, and knowledge. They are here, everywhere, and always aware." Captain Sylar realized the implications. Humans were no longer simply a species. They were a force. Their power was immense, their awareness vast, and their intelligence unmatched. Any interaction with them would require extreme caution. "We cannot interfere," Sylar said firmly. "Our duty is to observe and understand. We cannot risk changing anything, not even by accident. Humans are beyond our control, and any action could be disastrous." The explorers decided to gather as much data as possible without disrupting the post-human network. They recorded energy patterns, holographic projections, and traces of consciousness. Every measurement, every observation revealed the depth of humans' achievement. They had not only survived, they had created a civilization that could not be destroyed. As they moved through the city one last time, they felt the presence of humans in every structure, every device, every pulse of energy. It was a reminder of the species' ingenuity and perseverance. Humanity had transformed the planet itself into a living system, a network that preserved life, intelligence, and memory. "They are not seeking revenge or dominance," Mylan said. "They simply exist, fully aware of themselves and their legacy. They are perfect in their own way." Captain Sylar paused at the edge of the central plaza. The massive, tree-like structure pulsed with light, its branches intertwining with energy streams and holographic images of humans. It was the heart of their consciousness, the hub of the planetary network, the symbol of what humanity had become. "They are creators," Sylar said quietly. "Not just of technology or biology, but of life itself. They have taken existence and shaped it into something beyond comprehension. And they continue to evolve." The explorers spent time connecting with the post-human entities carefully and respectfully. They experienced fragments of human thought, curiosity, and wisdom. The humans did not seek to dominate the Erethians, but they shared knowledge, showing how they had overcome extinction, merged mind and matter, and created a system capable of sustaining itself for hundreds of thousands of years. "They are showing us their purpose," Retha said. "They exist to preserve life, intelligence, and memory. They are a force of creation, not destruction." Captain Sylar felt a mixture of awe and humility. Humans, once small and fragile, had become a species that transcended physical limits, mastering survival, intelligence, and cooperation. Their presence was a warning, a lesson, and an inspiration all at once. "We cannot replicate this," Sylar said. "We cannot control it, but we can learn. We can witness and carry this knowledge back. That is our role." Explorers gathered their records and prepared to leave. They had witnessed the apex of human evolution, the terrifying and beautiful reality of a species that had refused extinction and created a planetary consciousness. Their mission was complete, but the impact of what they had seen would remain with them forever, before departing. The central nexus projected one final image: humans standing together, energy flowing through them, minds connected, and the planet alive with their presence. The message was clear: humanity had survived, adapted, and transformed. They had become a species beyond fear, beyond limitation, and beyond the comprehension of any other civilization. "They are extraordinary," Mylan said softly. "They are the best example of what life can achieve when intelligence and determination are combined." Captain Sylar looked at the glowing city below. "We came to study them. But in truth, we are the students. Humanity has taught us more than we could have imagined, and we must carry this lesson back to our people, carefully and respectfully." The explorers ascended to their ship, the Zolaris leaving the city behind. As they rose into orbit, the planet below pulsed with light, energy flowing through structures, living fibers, and the planet itself. Humanity's presence was everywhere, a reminder of the species' extraordinary journey and its enduring legacy. Captain Sylar addressed his team one final time. "We have witnessed the truth. Humans are no longer just a species. They are a force, a system, and a network of life and consciousness. We must record everything, but we must never interfere. Their existence is a lesson, a warning, and a marvel." Ritha nodded. "We will carry their story with us, and we will respect it. Humanity has become something greater than we imagined." As the Zolaris departed Earth, the explorers looked back one last time. The glowing city, the living structures, and the pulses of energy reminded them that humanity had faced extinction and emerged stronger, wiser, and more extraordinary than the universe had ever expected. "They are not gone," Sylar said softly. "They are here, alive, and aware. And perhaps one day, the galaxy will understand the full scope of their power and wisdom. But for now, their story belongs to the men. We are witnesses to it." The ship sailed silently through the stars, leaving Earth behind. The planet glowed softly, alive with thought, energy, and the legacy of a species that had refused to vanish. Humanity had transcended its limitations, creating a force that could endure for millennia. And the Erethians, humble observers of the universe, had seen it all. Captain Sylar closed his eyes and reflected on what they had witnessed. Humans had turned survival into art, intelligence into a network, and existence into a living system. Their courage, curiosity, and ingenuity had reshaped their world and themselves. "They are the greatest story the universe has ever known," he said, "and we are privileged to have witnessed it." As the Zolaris continued its journey back to the Earthian system, explorers knew that nothing in their civilization would ever be the same. Humanity's triumph, their evolution, and their planetary consciousness had changed everything the Earthians believed about life, intelligence, and survival. Earth pulsed softly in the distance, a reminder of the enduring spirit of a species that had faced the impossible and prevailed. Humanity had not only survived 500,000 years, they had become a force that no one, not even the most advanced civilizations, could fully understand or control. And somewhere within the glowing city, the post-human entities continued their eternal work, preserving life, memory, and intelligence. Forever aware of the universe around them, and of the aliens who had come to witness their incredible journey. The story of humanity was no longer one of fragility or extinction. It was a story of triumph, resilience, and evolution beyond imagination. And as the Zolaris sailed into the stars, the Earthians carried the memory of what? The starship Resolute glided silently through the black emptiness of space. Its sleek hull reflected the distant light of a dying sun, and the faint hum of the engines was the only sound inside the ship. Captain Elias Drake stood on the bridge, his hands clasped behind his back. His crew moved with quiet efficiency, checking instruments, monitoring communication channels, and scanning the unknown system ahead. For months, humans had traveled further than any had dared before. This was Dominion Space, a region controlled by an empire that spanned thousands of worlds. Rumors painted the Dominion as strict, cold, and unyielding, a civilization that tolerated no trespassers and crushed weaker species without mercy. Yet here they were, humans venturing boldly into their territory. Drake's eyes scanned the main view screen. Red dots began to appear on the radar. Fast-moving objects, clearly spacecraft, were heading toward them. "Captain," Lieutenant Rena Sokolov said, pointing at the readings. "We have unidentified vessels approaching at high speed. Their formation suggests military intent." Drake did not flinch. He had anticipated this. "Open a communication channel," he said calmly. "I want to make contact before they take any hostile action." The view screen flickered, and a strange angular face appeared. Its skin shimmered slightly under the dim light, and its large eyes seemed to pierce through the screen. The being spoke in a language that translated instantly into basic humans. "You are in restricted space. Identify yourselves and state your purpose. Leave immediately, or we will take action." Drake met the alien's gaze through the screen. His voice was steady. "We are explorers from Earth, representing the United Terran Coalition. Our mission is peaceful. We seek only to observe and understand, not to interfere." There was a pause on the screen, long enough for the tension on the bridge to rise. The alien tilted its head, considering. Then it spoke again. "Peaceful intentions are noted, but all others who enter this sector are destroyed. How do we know you are not like the others?" Drake smiled faintly. "You don't, but we are willing to prove it. We will comply with any instructions you give, as long as they are fair and do not threaten our crew or ship." The alien's expression did not change. "Very well. You will follow our escort to the nearest Dominion station. Do not attempt to flee or resist. Any deviation will be met with immediate force." "Understood," Drake said. He turned to his crew. "Prepare for escort. Maintain full operational readiness. And stay calm. This is exactly what we expected." The human crew moved with practiced precision. Sensors were adjusted, shields reinforced, and navigation systems synchronized with the approaching Dominion vessels. There was no fear in their movements, only a quiet confidence born from years of training and exploration. As the Resolute fell in line behind the alien ships, Drake thought about what lay ahead. The Dominion was powerful, yes, but humans had something no other species could match: resilience. They did not panic under pressure. They did not hesitate in the face of danger. They adapted, and they endured. That had carried them across countless unknown worlds, and would carry them through this encounter as well. The escort led them through a swirling asteroid field, the Dominion ships moving effortlessly between the massive rocks. Drake watched his crew, noting how they adjusted their maneuvers with calm precision. Lieutenant Sokolov piloted the ship with steady hands, while Engineer Malik adjusted the shields to absorb the stray impacts of small debris. The human crew's coordination impressed even Drake, and he felt a quiet pride. Finally, the ships arrived at the Dominion station, a massive structure orbiting a pale blue planet. The station was unlike anything humans had seen before. Towers of translucent materials stretched toward the sky, connected by glowing bridges that pulsed with energy. Ships of all sizes moved in organized patterns, and alien figures moved on the station platforms with precise, purposeful steps. A Dominion officer met them on the docking channel. "Humans," it said, its voice formal and devoid of emotion. "You may dock. Your behavior so far has been usual. Most species panic or resist. You do neither." Drake nodded. "We are here to observe and learn. We wish to establish peaceful relations." The docking clamps engaged, and the Resolute was secured. The crew prepared to disembark, wearing suits that allowed them to survive in the station's atmosphere. Drake was the first to step onto the platform. His eyes scanned the crowd of aliens. He saw curiosity, suspicion, and perhaps a hint of respect. A Dominion guide approached. "Follow me. You will be taken to the Council. They wish to understand why humans are so unflinching in the face of danger." Drake gestured for his crew to follow. They walked through the station's corridors, which glowed softly under bioluminescent panels. The walls were smooth, almost organic in appearance, yet strong enough to withstand impacts that would destroy a human building. Everywhere they went, aliens watched them. Some whispered, others simply stared. Humans noticed, but they did not react. In the council chamber, representatives from the Dominion gathered. They were taller than humans, with elongated limbs and angular faces. Their eyes reflected intelligence and calculation. One spoke first. "Captain Drake, your species has entered our space without fear. You do not tremble as others do. Why?" Drake met the speaker's gaze evenly. "We do not see fear as a useful response. Danger exists everywhere, but it is our choices that define us. We prepare, we act, and we adapt. Fear does not help us survive or achieve our goals," the council murmured among themselves. The humans' words were different from what they expected. Most species would have begged for mercy or attempted deception. Humans spoke of principles, of preparedness, and of courage. Another Dominion member asked, "But what if you fail? What if we strike and you cannot defend yourselves?" Drake smiled. "Then we learn, we adapt, and we continue. Survival is not about avoiding risk. It is about facing it and finding solutions. That is why we have come. Not to fight, but to understand and to grow." The council fell silent. This human, small by Dominion standards, had spoken with clarity and confidence. There was no trembling, no pleading, no deception. Just truth. After a long pause, the first speaker nodded. "You may remain in this system under observation. You will follow Dominion protocols. Any breach will be met with force." "Understood," Drake replied. He bowed slightly, not out of fear, but out of respect. "We will comply. We hope that our presence here will be beneficial to both our peoples." As the humans were led to their temporary quarters, crew members whispered among themselves. "Did you see that?" said Ensign Kale. "They expected us to panic and we didn't. They actually listened." Skolov smiled. "This is just the beginning. The Dominion has rules, yes, but they also notice strength, courage, clarity. We have all of those, and we don't need weapons to show it." Drake looked out the window of their quarters at the swirling gas clouds of the Dominion system. For centuries, humans had faced dangers at home and in the stars. They had adapted, survived, and thrived. And now, they were in the heart of a powerful empire. They had not flinched. He knew the coming days would be challenging. Dominion protocols were strict, and the aliens were unyielding. But he also knew that humans were more than capable of facing what came next. Humanity's strength was not in their ships or their technology alone. It was in their courage, their creativity, and their refusal to be intimidated. For the first time in centuries, Drake felt a quiet thrill. The stars stretched endlessly before them, filled with unknown dangers and possibilities. And humans, as always, would meet them head-on. The Resolute had crossed into Dominion space. The universe had taken notice, and the humans had not flinched. The humans had been on the Dominion station for 3 days, and already the atmosphere was tense. Everywhere they went, Dominion eyes followed, studying their movements, their expressions, their reactions. Captain Elias Drake had expected this. The Dominion did not simply observe, they tested. And soon the humans would discover exactly how far that testing would go. Drake walked through the station corridors with Lieutenant Rena Sokolov and Engineer Malik. Their mission was to attend the orientation sessions the Dominion had arranged. Though Drake suspected these were more than lessons, they were trials. "We're being measured," Sokolov said quietly. "Every move we make, every choice we make, they record it." "I can feel it," Drake nodded. "They want to see how we handle pressure, how we respond to danger. That is their way. But we will remain human. We will not let them dictate our reactions." Malik grunted. "I just hope the next test doesn't involve crashing the ship into a sun. Because if it does, I'm holding you personally responsible, Captain." Drake allowed himself a small smile. "If it does, Malik will adapt. That is what humans do." Their first trial began that very afternoon. The humans were escorted to an observation bay that overlooked a simulation chamber the size of a city. Inside, holographic asteroids and combat drones moved with incredible speed, forming a maze of danger. Dominion officers gestured to the humans. "This is your first test," one officer said. "Navigate the chamber without failing. Your success will determine if further trials are warranted." Drake's eyes scanned the simulation. The asteroids were dense and fast-moving. Drones swooped unpredictably, armed with non-lethal energy pulses. Any collision would trigger an automatic failure report. "Crew," Drake said, "prepare for navigation. Sensors up, shields active, and keep your minds sharp. This is a test, but also an opportunity." Sokolov took the pilot's seat, her hands moving over the controls with calm precision. Malik adjusted the energy shields, calibrating them to absorb minor impacts. The other crew members monitored sensor feeds, ready to provide advice or warnings. The Resolute entered the simulation chamber. Immediately, asteroids loomed on all sides. Drones darted in unpredictable patterns. The crew worked seamlessly, adjusting the ship's trajectory with split-second timing. The Dominion officers watched from their observation platforms, whispering to each other. "Most species would have panicked by now," one said. "Humans. They continue without hesitation. Remarkable." One asteroid collided lightly with the ship's shield. Alarms blared briefly, but Malik adjusted the energy distribution instantly, preventing damage. Another drone swooped dangerously close, firing an energy pulse. Sokolov veered the ship smoothly, dodging the attack while keeping speed. Drake remained calm, maintained course. Watch the patterns. Adapt. Minutes passed, and the chamber became increasingly chaotic. Asteroids moved faster, drones attacked in coordinated swarms, and hazards appeared unpredictably. Yet the humans never lost composure. Each maneuver was calculated, each decision precise. They anticipated dangers the Dominion had not expected. Using creative solutions rather than brute force, finally, the simulation ended. The chamber cleared, and the Resolute hovered intact. Unscathed, silence filled the observation bay before the Dominion officer spoke. "Humans. You have succeeded," one said. "Most species would have failed within minutes. Your adaptability is unusual." Drake bowed slightly. "We learn from every challenge. Success is not luck, it is preparation, observation, and teamwork." Another officer asked, "You risked failure to save even minor errors. Why not avoid the dangers entirely?" Sokolov replied, "Avoiding danger does not always teach us what we need to know. Sometimes we must face challenges directly to find the right solution." The officers murmured again. Their species valued efficiency, control, and predictability. Humans were none of these. They were unpredictable, resourceful, and unflinching. And that unpredictability made them powerful in ways the Dominion rarely saw. The next trial came 2 days later. This time, the humans were tested in diplomacy and negotiation. A group of Dominion species, each with different customs, rules, and priorities, was assembled in a simulation designed to create conflict. Drake studied the setup. This is a social trial. Observe, communicate, adapt. We are not here to dominate, but to understand and find solutions. The humans moved among the alien delegates with careful respect. They listened first, spoke second, and always maintained calm confidence. Arguments arose, tensions flared, and cultural misunderstandings created potential crises. But the humans navigated each situation with clarity. Sokolov noticed one alien delegate becoming frustrated. Instead of escalating, she stepped forward calmly. "I understand your concerns," she said. "Let us find a way that honors your rules and meets our shared goals." The delegate blinked, startled. Humans had acknowledged their customs while still asserting their own perspective. Slowly, the tension eased. By the end of the trial, the Dominion officers nodded with approval. The humans had not only avoided failure, they had solved problems that the simulation's designers had thought unsolvable. Drake's crew gathered afterward, exhausted but proud. "They're testing us in every way," Malik said. "Physical danger, mental stress, social challenges. They want to see if we break." Drake smiled. "And we haven't. We don't flinch because we face challenges together, because we think, because we adapt. That is what makes humans human." That night, Drake walked alone to the observation deck of the station. Below, the Dominion capital world glowed with a soft blue light, its cities arranged in perfect geometric patterns. Ships moved through the skies like living threads of energy. It was beautiful and alien in a way that humans would never fully understand, yet he felt no fear. Others might see a powerful empire and tremble. Humans did not. Humans saw challenges and opportunities. Humans saw problems to solve, not threats to avoid. A sudden alert broke his thoughts. A small fleet of Dominion warships had been detected near the station, maneuvering toward the simulation chamber. Drake's sensors identified the purpose immediately. Another test. One more challenge to measure human courage under stress? He called his crew to the bridge. "They're coming for the final assessment." This is where they decide if humans are capable of more than observation. We need precision, calm, and creativity. This is not just to test it as a chance to show them who we are. The Resolute entered the new simulation, but this one was unlike the others. The warships moved with deadly efficiency, forming tight formations and attempting to corner the humans. Meteors, energy fields, and artificial anomalies were unleashed simultaneously. The crew worked with flawless coordination. Drake directed the maneuvers. Sokolov piloted with unwavering focus. Malik adjusted shields and engines with split-second timing. And the other crew members monitored all sensors, communications, and systems. Minutes turned into tense hours. Every mistake could trigger failure. Every hesitation could mean disaster. Yet humans remained calm. They adapted to every new variable, using their ingenuity rather than brute force to survive and even gain small advantages. The Dominion observers were astonished. Whispered comments spread through the observation decks. They do not flinch. They do not panic. Even under impossible conditions, they continue. Finally, the simulation ended. The Resolute emerged intact. The Dominion fleet dissolved back into the virtual space. The lead officer addressed Drake through the communication channel. "Captain Drake, your species' response is exceptional. Most would have failed multiple times. You and your crew have shown not only courage, but ingenuity and adaptability. This is highly unusual." Drake nodded. "We act together. We learn and we adapt. That is how humans survive, how humans succeed. We do not flinch because fear alone does not solve problems. Understanding and action do." The officer remained silent for a moment. Then finally it said, "We will continue to observe, but it is clear humans are unlike any other species we have encountered." Drake allowed himself a small smile. Humans had passed the first trials. They had faced danger, complexity, and pressure without fear. They had proven that courage and intelligence could overcome almost any challenge, as the crew celebrated quietly in the mess hall. Sokolov leaned back in her chair. "I think they're starting to respect us," she said. "Not because we're strong, but because we don't give in to fear. That is something they've never seen before." Drake raised his glass. "To humanity. We face the unknown, we meet danger head-on, and we do not flinch. That is who we are. That is what makes us human." The stars outside the station windows twinkled, as if in agreement. And for the first time in Dominion space, the humans felt something that no simulation could teach. The quiet power of courage, the steady strength of ingenuity, and the undeniable truth that they were more than capable of surviving and thriving where others would fail. The humans had passed the Dominion's initial tests. They had navigated deadly simulations, outmaneuvered complex challenges, and proven that they did not flinch under pressure. Yet Captain Elias Drake knew that the trials were far from over. The Dominion was a society built on order, hierarchy, and strict rules. Their next test would be subtle, yet potentially more difficult than any physical or tactical challenge they had faced: understanding and navigating Dominion culture. Drake and his crew disembarked onto the capital world, escorted by Dominion guides. The city sprawled across the landscape like a living network. Buildings rose in geometric precision, connected by glowing bridges and suspended walkways. Vehicles moved along invisible energy lanes, each obeying strict traffic patterns enforced by unseen algorithms. The aliens around them walked with purposeful steps, speaking in a melodic language that seemed foreign yet precise. "Keep your eyes open," Drake said quietly to his crew. "This is not just sightseeing. Every gesture, every word, every action will be observed. They want to see how humans behave when confronted with unfamiliar rules." Lieutenant Rena Sokolov nodded. "It's like walking on a tightrope. One wrong move, and they could consider it disrespect." Drake smiled faintly. "Then we move carefully but confidently. That is what humans do." Their first stop was a public square where Dominion citizens gathered to exchange goods and services. Humans were curious, asking questions politely, observing local customs, and offering assistance where they could. Unlike other species that had entered Dominion space, humans did not act subserviently or arrogantly. They simply acted with awareness and respect. An alien merchant approached, frowning as he watched the humans. "You are not following the standard protocol for trade," he said, his voice sharp but controlled. Drake stepped forward. "We are new here. Please explain the proper procedure, and we will comply. We also hope to learn if there is a better way to complete the trade." The merchant blinked, surprised. Most species would have either demanded to follow their own rules or submitted without question. Humans, however, listened, asked questions, and suggested improvements calmly. Slowly, the merchant's frown softened. "You adapt quickly," he admitted. "Most others break down under scrutiny or act without understanding. Perhaps humans are different," Sokolov whispered to Drake. "They notice everything. Every small deviation, every respectful action. We're already leaving an impression." Drake nodded. "Good. That is the point. Observation is power, and respect is earned by understanding." Over the next several days, the humans moved through the city, guided by the Dominion officers. They attended cultural briefings, observed rituals, and interacted with local citizens. Everywhere they went, they remained calm, curious, and confident. They asked questions when they did not understand, offered solutions when they saw problems, and treated everyone with dignity. One day, they encountered a worker struggling with a complex transport device. The worker had no time for human intervention. Failure would mean reprimand. But Drake stepped forward. "May we help?" he asked politely. The worker hesitated. "Humans. You could interfere and make things worse." Drake shook his head. "We will follow your instructions carefully. Our goal is to assist, not to disrupt." Together, they stabilized the device. The worker's eyes widened. You did it correctly. Most species would have caused damage. Malik shrugged. We don't panic. We look, we analyze, we act. That is what humans do. Word of their actions spread quickly. Dominion citizens whispered about the humans who did not follow fear, who questioned without disrespect, and who solved problems others considered impossible. Dominion officers began to notice. The council summoned Drake again. Captain, one officer said, your species behaves in ways that are unpredictable. You do not conform blindly to our customs, yet you respect them. You challenge problems without creating chaos. Explain this. Drake met the officer's gaze. Humans do not see rules as chains to bind them. We see rules as frameworks to understand. We adapt where necessary, follow where appropriate, and challenge when it improves the outcome. Our goal is not to disrupt it, is to solve problems. That is why we act as we do. The officer was silent, clearly struggling to comprehend the human philosophy. Another council member spoke. Yet your approach creates influence. Subtle, but undeniable. Other species would never achieve this without force. Humans, your methods are effective, Drake nodded. Effectiveness comes from understanding, courage, and respect. Humans believe that progress is achieved through these qualities, not through fear or domination. The council seemed unsettled. Dominion society relied on order and hierarchy. Humans, through their calm confidence, had demonstrated that influence did not require submission or aggression. They had achieved what the Dominion rarely allowed, impact through intelligence, courage, and empathy. The humans continued their exploration of the city. They visited schools, observing how Dominion children were taught to follow strict rules. Humans noticed opportunities where small changes could improve efficiency and understanding. For example, they suggested minor adjustments to teaching methods. It's not through force, but through questions and examples. Slowly, instructors began to adopt the ideas. At the market, humans helped resolve a dispute between two merchants. One had misread the regulations, the other sought to enforce them strictly. Humans listened, proposed a compromise, and mediated the situation calmly. Both parties left satisfied. Dominion observers took note. Drake knew they were making a quiet impact. We are not here to conquer, he said to Sokolov as they walked through the market. We are here to show that humans bring value simply by thinking, acting, and solving problems. Influence does not always require force, Sokolov smiled. And yet the effect is undeniable. Look at them, they are starting to trust us, even respect us. They haven't seen anything like this before. The next challenge came unexpectedly. A system-wide alert announced a minor disaster. A transport conduit had malfunctioned, endangering a district of the city. The Dominion citizens panicked, unsure how to respond quickly. Drake saw an opportunity. Crew, he said, this is not just a test. It is a chance to help. Move with precision, but do not hesitate. Humans solve problems, they do not flinch. The humans coordinated immediately. Sokolov piloted a small craft into the affected area. Malik and the engineers analyzed the conduit, improvising repairs using limited resources. Other crew members guided Dominion citizens to safety. Minutes passed, tension building, until the situation stabilized. The humans had prevented casualties, repaired the conduit, and organized civilians efficiently. Dominion officials observed. Impressed, one officer spoke quietly to another. They act without hesitation, without fear. And yet, they preserve life, solve problems, and maintain order. This is unprecedented. Drake addressed the officials. We do not act out of heroism alone. We act because it is necessary. Humans see problems and solve them. That is our nature. The council convened later. Captain Drake, the lead officer said, your species is different. You challenge conventions without causing disorder. You influence our people without commanding them. This is both fascinating and unsettling. And Drake nodded. We do not seek to unsettle. We seek understanding, cooperation, and solutions. Humans respect life, intelligence, and curiosity. That is why we act as we do. Over the next days, humans continued to interact with Dominion society. They asked questions, offered suggestions, and solved minor problems. Dominion citizens began to look at them not as outsiders, but as examples. Some whispered that humans were extraordinary, that their courage and intellect were unlike anything they had seen. Drake reflected on this quietly in his quarters. Dominion culture was rigid, hierarchical, and often resistant to change. Yet humans, through calm, confidence, and unflinching action, were already creating subtle ripples of influence. He wrote in his log, "Humans are not stronger in body, nor faster, nor more technologically advanced than all here, but we have qualities that no empire can ignore: courage, ingenuity, adaptability, and the will to act without fear. These qualities are our strength, and they will carry us through whatever comes next." As the sun set over the Dominion city, casting long shadows across the glowing structures, Drake felt a quiet satisfaction. Humans had entered an alien world, faced its rules, and navigated them without compromise. They had earned the first glimmers of respect, not through dominance, but through action, intelligence, and courage. The Dominion was watching closely, trying to understand the humans' nature. And the humans had already begun to leave their mark. One thing was clear: the galaxy had never seen anything like humanity, and the humans had not flinched. The calm order of the Dominion capital was shattered in the early hours of the morning. Alarms blared across the city, echoing through streets and corridors. Citizens ran to safety, while Dominion security forces scrambled to assess the threat. The Resolute's sensors immediately detected the problem: a massive orbital station, critical to the Dominion's energy distribution, was failing. Its core reactors were unstable. The cascading failures threatened entire districts of the city below. Captain Elias Drake was on the bridge, observing the chaos. He felt no fear, only focus. "Crew," he said firmly, "we have a crisis. This is not a test. Lives are at stake. Let's move." Lieutenant Rena Sokolov and Engineer Malik were already at their stations, analyzing the failing station systems. "The reactor is overloading," Malik reported. "If it goes critical, the city below will experience catastrophic damage." Drake's eyes narrowed. "We don't have time to wait for their engineers. We act immediately." Sokolov prepped the Resolute for direct intervention. "Malik, give me options for stabilization. Let's save as many lives as we can." Sokolov piloted the ship toward the failing station, weaving through debris and energy surges. Her hands moved quickly and confidently, every maneuver precise. Humans were not programmed for fear. They were programmed for action. As they approached, the Dominion officers, who had been observing them earlier, appeared on the communication channel. "Captain Drake, this is highly irregular. You are entering a restricted zone. You do not have authorization to intervene." Drake met their protests calmly. "Authorization is irrelevant when lives are at stake. We will stabilize the station. You can monitor, but we cannot wait for bureaucracy." The Dominion Council members exchanged uneasy glances. No species had ever acted so boldly within their territory. Humans did not hesitate. They did not argue. They acted. The Resolute docked with the failing station, and the human engineers began their work. Malik interfaced with the alien systems, his fingers flying over controls he barely understood. The Dominion's technology was advanced and alien. But humans had a unique trait: the ability to learn and adapt under pressure. "Energy levels are spiking too fast," Malik said. "We need to reroute core output immediately, or the reactor will breach containment." Drake nodded. "Do it, Sokolov. Stabilize our position. Crew, assist Malik as needed. Humans do not flinch. We solve problems." Minutes felt like hours. The reactor core pulsed violently, sending shocks through the station. Dominion security forces held their ground outside, unsure whether to intervene or evacuate. Humans moved with quiet confidence, coordinating actions, anticipating failures, and improvising solutions. Core stabilization at 40%, Malik reported. Increasing output routing. Now, sparks flew from panels as energy flows shifted. Alarms continued, but the humans stayed focused. A sudden surge nearly disabled the Resolute's shields. Sokolov countered immediately, maneuvering the ship to absorb the energy spike without endangering the station. The crew adjusted in perfect harmony. Every action complemented the others. Below, citizens watched the human ship, unsure whether to hope or fear. And then, slowly, the situation began to stabilize. The energy surges decreased, the reactor core slowed its erratic behavior, and the station's systems returned to functional levels. The Dominion Council observed silently. This was not just competence. They were witnessing courage, adaptability, and intelligence in action. Humans were not only surviving, they were saving the Dominion from disaster. Finally, Malik gave the report. Reactor stabilized. Station secure. No catastrophic damage detected. Drake exhaled, his calm demeanor never faltering. Good work, crew. Let's move out before the Council decides to intervene unnecessarily. As the Resolute detached from the station, the Dominion officers approached the communication channel. Captain Drake, one said, voice heavy with respect and caution. Your actions today were unexpected. You acted decisively where others would have hesitated. Entire districts of our city were spared. Explain this behavior. Drake met their gaze steadily. We do not flinch, because fear does not solve problems. Humans act with observation, intelligence, and courage. Lives are valuable. Problems exist to be solved. That is why we act decisively when others cannot, will not. The Council fell silent. They were not used to species that acted without fear, that prioritized action over hesitation, that valued life while respecting rules and order. Humans were extraordinary not because of technology or size, but because of their nature. In the following hours, humans helped coordinate relief for affected districts. They guided citizens to safety, repaired minor infrastructure damage, and advised Dominion engineers on long-term stabilization measures. Everywhere they went, they remained calm, confident, and competent. The Dominion had never seen anything like this. One Dominion officer approached Drake privately. Captain, your species is remarkable. Most would have fled or panicked. You did not. You acted, and you inspired others to act with you. How do you explain this? Drake smiled faintly. Humans face danger because they must. We adapt, we learn, and we support one another. Courage is not the absence of fear, it is the choice to act despite it. That is what makes humans effective. The officer studied him for a long moment before nodding. Then you are different, and your difference is powerful. As night fell over the Dominion capital, Drake walked among the recovering citizens. Their eyes followed him, some with curiosity, some with awe. Humans had crossed into a powerful empire and, through their courage and intelligence, had saved lives without coercion or force. Lieutenant Sokolov joined him, her expression thoughtful. They're starting to see humans as more than just outsiders. We're showing them that courage, adaptability, and teamwork matter. Drake nodded. Exactly. They are beginning to understand that strength comes in many forms, and humans excel where others fail not through intimidation or force, but through action, creativity, and unflinching resolve. Malik, who had been helping civilians, added, I never thought I'd see aliens actually listen to humans. But today, they did. They followed our lead because it worked, not because they had to. That's incredible, Drake smiled. That is the essence of humanity. We act, we adapt, we inspire, and we do not flinch. In the council chambers, Dominion leaders debated the humans' presence. They are unlike any species we have encountered, one said. They act without fear, solve problems that would overwhelm others, and influence our people subtly yet effectively. They cannot be ignored, another council member added, and yet they respect life and order. They do not seek dominance, only solutions. This is unprecedented. We must consider them carefully. For the first time, humans had not only survived Dominion scrutiny, they had reshaped the perception of their entire species. What began as cautious observation had turned into quiet admiration. Humans were proving that courage, intelligence, and unyielding resolve could overcome even the strictest hierarchies. As Drake returned to the Resolute, he wrote in his log, "Today, humans faced a challenge that would have paralyzed most. Entire districts were in danger, systems failing, and chaos everywhere. We acted calmly, decisively, and effectively. That is what makes humans unique, not strength alone, not technology, not speed, but courage, adaptability, and the willingness to act where others hesitate. The Dominion is beginning to understand this. The galaxy may be larger and more dangerous than ever, but humans do not flinch, and we never will." The stars outside the station's windows shimmered with distant light, a reminder that beyond the Dominion, countless unknown worlds awaited. Challenges, dangers, and mysteries stretched endlessly across the cosmos. And wherever humans went, they would meet these challenges with calm determination, intelligence, and courage. Tonight, the Dominion had seen what humans were capable of. They had witnessed a species that could face chaos and danger without fear. A species that could solve problems others deemed impossible. A species that could inspire hope simply by acting. And the humans. Captain Drake and his crew had done all of this without flinching. The galaxy was watching, and humanity was ready.